That was like yesterday. Sadie was wearing. And I almost pulled my Hey everybody. Going to give you guys a little bit of time to hop on here. It takes me a second to get Instagram going live, and I think it's finally live. I see a few of you starting to see we're live. We have a very special guest today. Oh my goodness, guest. We have two guests now, and I want to introduce you to someone that we met when we were at a trade show in Florida regarding a new product line that we've just brought in. And I think this is going to be a wonderful presentation for those of you who are interested in some ways to better support your pet's health and well-being. I know that we were really inspired by this presentation and really inspired by this product line. And I know a lot of you guys who are customers will be as well. So without further ado, I'm going to add Carter here. And Carter, who do you have with you?
This is my boy, Archie. He's a rescue that came into my life really recently. Got him from this incredible organization called Long Road Home from South Carolina. So my new companion.
Look at his split face. I love that. Oh my gosh. So cute.
Love him.
Oh, he's so sweet. How old is he?
He's like 1.5 years. So just a rambunctious teenager. But he goes with me everywhere. He's such a good boy.
Those are the best friends. Well, yeah. He's very lucky for sure. Well, I was talking about how my crew and I were in Florida for the Global Trade Pet Expo for the trade show. And we attended a seminar that you did for Indie Pet. And we were so taken by the presentation that you did and the things that you talked about that we were like, we have to have that line in our stores. We just absolutely have to have that line in our stores. And so we're really excited to have you here to talk about it and to do that presentation for us. And so that we can share that with our customers and share all the wonderful things about your line, MycoDog. And so MycoDog is mushrooms for pets. So I'm going to kind of let you take it away and talk a little bit more about MycoDog, how it started, and kind of everything behind MycoDog.
Awesome. I'd love to. Let's go for it. Cool. You know what, Archie? I'm going to let you go relax now.
Off duty for a minute.
Yeah. Daddy's working. So I've got some slides here that I'd love to show, because I'm a visual learner, so it is always easier for me to kind of see things, how they actually look and work. Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I can get it all there. There you go.
Cool. Okay, folks, let's talk about mushrooms. I'm sure if you're anything like me out there, maybe you've heard of psilocybin mushrooms. Who out there has heard of psilocybin mushrooms? When I tell people that I'm a researcher exploring the benefits of medicinal mushrooms for animals, this is often the first place that their mind goes. But, I can't blame them. There's a lot of hype right now about psilocybin mushrooms and, researchers reporting incredible cases in humans dealing with stress, depression. And I even know a veterinarian who's using psilocybin mushrooms for retired police dogs who are suffering from PTSD. They are amazing. However, that is not what we do at MycoDog. When people think of medicinal mushrooms now, I think that is one of the places that their mind goes, as well as some ingrained fears about mushrooms being poisonous. I know personally, when I take Archie out in the forest for a walk or on the streets where I live, he is going for everything and trying to eat it. And the last thing that I want is for him to get a hold of something that could be potentially harmful or poisonous. And a lot of people think of mushrooms for their potential poisonous effects, but there are thousands of species of mushrooms, some of them great culinary mushrooms, some of them hallucinogenic like psilocybin. Some of them do have certain toxins and poisons. Those make up about 1% of all of the different species of medicinal mushrooms. And then we have this smaller group of around, right now, research is indicating around 800 species that have different effects and activity in the body that can be really beneficial for our pets. So that's what we're talking about today. And the mushrooms that we cultivate and wild harvest, they have no psychedelic or hallucinogenic properties. They have, however, been traditionally used for over 1,000 years, as well as gaining widespread traction and attention in the medical community for their ability to support things like immune function, digestive balance, cellular health, and emerging research and the experience of veterinarians is really showing and exploring how they can impact longevity and overall wellness in pets. So today, for everybody who's new to mushrooms, for dogs and cats and pets and horses, whoever, people as well, I wanted to just kind of introduce you to some of my favorite species and tell you about specifically how they work in the body. So by the time you all tune out here today, you will all be mushroom experts in the making, with some new tools to help your pets thrive, despite the challenges that they'll face across all stages of life. So I thought that we could play a little game. I can really nerd out and just kind of talk science, but I think it's more fun to have a little fun along the way. So I thought that we could do a little guess and match the mushroom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a blurred out image of a specific mushroom.
I found this game really hard.
You did? Okay, yes. Great.
I mean, I know these mushrooms, and once you said them, hey, Kelly, once you said them, then I was like, oh, yeah, totally can see it, but I'm terrible at the blur out game. But maybe we have other experts who are jumping on here who will know better than I will.
Yep. Well, this is good for anybody, whether you are a mycologist with a ton of knowledge and just want a refresher, or you're somebody that's new to medicinal mushrooms, because what's really cool about these incredible natural species are that they have sort of unique profiles. Each one has a different specialization, and oftentimes they work really well together. They have synergistic benefits where they boost each other's effects and can even potentiate how they can work for your dog. So I'm going to show you a blurred out image and talk about some of its properties. And then if you are in the comments and you can guess it, we'll have a prize for you. I've got these nifty t-shirts.
I love these t-shirts. Mushrooms and cannabis
will change the world.
Save the world. That's right.
Yes. So let's jump in. The first one that we've got here, this one is one of my favorites. It is delicious and really great for our animals. It supports gut health. It has been studied and used by veterinarians for its effects on memory and cognition. It's known for neurological support and to be protective for the liver, HEPA-protective.
Okay,
Kelly.
Yeah,
Kelly was quick. Kelly's
she was on
the draw here. She is correct. This is lion's mane. This is such a pretty mushroom. It's so beautiful. It's really soft and fluffy. And one of the cool things I love about this mushroom too is when you take a cross section of it, if you cut it open, it looks like a brain. You can see sort of like a stem in the middle, and then these tendrils that go out in the same way that we see the brain of dogs, humans, cats. So it's kind of a cool parallel, when you look at a cross section of a carrot and it looks like an eye. Oftentimes there's this sort of serendipitous comparison that you can make between what they look like and what they're good
What
for.
they're good for. That is really cool. And so, like, if you had perhaps an elderly dog or something like that, might be a really good support for them.
Definitely. Yeah. Our old dogs, I've got all our old dogs that I know in my family and that our clients are working with. Lion's Mane is one of the top ones that we like to have our senior pets on. For sure. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
This one is great for immune support. It balances the gut microbiome. One of the ways that it does that is by encouraging diversity in the populations of different bacteria in the gut and suppressing the more dominant bacteria that you probably would want less quantities of. So it can really enhance gut microbiome diversity. It's been used for cellular health as well in conditions where overgrowth or deregulation might be a problem. And it also has really incredible reported effects in antiviral support and antibacterial support. Any guesses? Jessica. Nice, Jessica. Okay, we've got some folks out here with some knowledge. I love this mushroom as well. It's kind of a cornerstone in East Asian cultures and has been studied extensively in its benefits for cellular health. So this is turkey tail, one of the rock stars. Yes, Christy, we've got some folks out here who know what's going on. It sounds like you got a savvy audience there, Allison.
We do. We have many customers who do know the benefits and the support that so many mushrooms can provide for their pets. And I actually talked to a customer not long ago who really gave credit to mushroom tincture for extending the longevity of her pet's life.
Wow.
When it had cancer. She single-handedly felt like it made such a big difference.
Those are the kind of stories that keep me coming back to what I do every day and feeling reinvigorated and inspired. It's really heartening to hear how people are sometimes, they didn't know what else they could do. They tried everything, and on a whim or based on a recommendation or somebody else's story, they just go, well, what harm could it do? Let's try it. And they have really just a turnaround, an incredible story to tell, and more time, quality time with the furry family members that they love. Yeah. For sure. All right, let's do another one here. This is actually technically not a mushroom. It is a fungus. So not all fungus are mushrooms, but all mushrooms are fungus. That's kind of like the family of them. But it is another one of my favorites. It has some of the highest antioxidant content of any natural substance that we know of. And for those of you who are not familiar or just hear this word antioxidant thrown around and don't really understand why we talk about it, antioxidants are compounds in the body that bind to different components or different molecules and help the body filter them out and prevent or it helps to deal with oxidative stress, which over time it's like these things bumping around in the body and kind of damaging cells and organs that can cause inflammation and long-term really degrade the body's ability to heal itself and repair. So this is really high in those antioxidants that are going to help clear out the body. It's highly anti-inflammatory, helps with detoxification, as you might guess from that. And it is been studied for its gastroprotective effects. So great for the digestive system, for the stomach. It was traditionally used for in native populations here in North America for millennia for ulcers and stomach health. So this is kind of tried and true and used forever. And there's a ton of research out now about how it works, and we've got Jessica.
And
She's
Christy
on it.
Gonzalez got it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Christy too. All right,
Yeah.
we'll coordinate afterwards, Allison, so that we can get some sizes and
Yeah.
get some
Get
t-shirts.
some t-shirts. That'll be great.
Folks. Yeah, and lo and behold, you are absolutely correct, Christy and Jessica. This is chaga. Chaga is super cool. It grows kind of solely in the northern hemisphere in nature, and it grows on birch trees. So places like Russia, Canada, the northern United States, and
It kind of looks like a liver in
it
that
kind of
picture.
does. Yeah,
And
it kind of does.
supporting detoxification, surely, that's one of the organs that needs the most detoxification. So it's interesting.
You bet. You can make a really good tea with chaga as well. You just boil it for a few minutes and it'll turn this like dark black color. But I like to ice it in the summer and put a little lemonade in it. Make of a mushroom Arnold Palmer with it. Very, very delicious. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
So this one is probably the most famous one, just because it is used across cultures around the globe, has so much research behind it. It's a cornerstone in Chinese herbal medicine, known as the mushroom of immortality. Great for the heart, great for inflammatory issues. It has stress relieving and calming properties. Kelly Nelson asked a question about xylitol to do with chaga that we'll come back to. Let's make sure that we come back to them. That's a really popular question. But does anybody out there have an idea of what this mushroom is? Any thoughts on this one? I'll give you a hint. There is another mushroom called artist conch, and artist conch is belonging to the same genus as this one here. And
I think Jessica and Kelly both guessed. I was about to say reishi. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. This is reishi. Reishi is Ganoderma. Ganoderma. Oh my God, what is it? Its minor name. Ganoderma lucidium. And that other one that I was talking about is Ganoderma applanatum. So artist conch, Ganoderma applanatum, is another one that we have in our products. That these are kind of sister mushrooms. They belong to the same family and they work really well together. They have a lot of similar benefits and then some that separate them. You put them together, they work even better. Yep, Christy with the scientific name out there. Very nice. We got fellow nerds unite. Yeah, so reishi is fantastic. It is one though that I will say has sort of a bitter taste. It's kind of bitter, and so it's really important for the palatability of our pets that it is prepared in such a way that they're actually going to want to take it. So I'll tell you a little bit more about how we extract our products, how we harvest them and grow them, because number one, we need our pets to want to take these things, and also we want to know that the mushrooms that they're taking are of the highest possible quality, because this isn't just something that we're using for no reason. It has a specific purpose, and there's a big difference between a mushroom that was grown with all the proper conditions and one that is just quickly produced, mass produced, and put out there to make a profit, honestly, because this is
like that's
big industry.
It's the same way with the ingredients that go into our pet food and the choices we make in the pet foods that we carry, because you don't want something, you don't even want a protein that's raised in an irresponsible manner, because it does change the whole property.
You're absolutely right, Allison.
So yeah, very much all the way around for us here, wanting to have the highest quality of everything.
Yeah, I think we're definitely aligned on that, and especially with mushrooms. And it applies to I'm the director of education for MycoDog as well as our sister company CBD Dog Health. So I talk a lot about hemp extract and cannabis for animals as well. And with these two specific modalities, sourcing is so important. I'd like to show this image just because it illustrates one of the specific behaviors that we see in mushrooms and hemp, where in this case, this is a photo of an abandoned theme park in Chernobyl in Ukraine, where in the 80s there was that huge nuclear disaster that left the land sort of scorched with all of this nuclear waste that was very poisonous, very dangerous to be around. And in this place, they used hemp and mushrooms for bioremediation. So they used these plants and fungi for their effects, where they actually will clean the soil. They will pull these heavy metals, toxins, nuclear active and reactive substances out of the earth, and they will clean the soil that they are planted in. However, we don't want them exercising those effects in cases where we're going to be using them to help our pets feel better, have greater longevity, target different conditions. So what we know about these things is we want them to be grown and harvested and sourced from places where we know that all they're getting from the water and the soil and the different substrates that they're on is all of those different therapeutic compounds, all those different molecules that make them work the way that we know that they can. That's why sourcing is so important, especially with these kinds of natural modalities. So I wanted to just give you an overview, whether you're using mushrooms for your dog you got an itchy dog that's got all sorts of inflammation in the springtime, or you got an old dog that's just starting to slow down and get a little confused. I want to give you a list that you can take and apply this to any kind of mushroom product that you might be looking for, whether it's ours or another brand, and ask these questions about its sourcing, because you can have a lot of different products out there that have really great marketing, that look really awesome. And then when you go for the transparency to know how they were made, why they were made, they don't really have the answers. And it comes down to intention. What are we doing this for? Is it to make a quick buck, or is it rooted in actually providing the best possible effects for our animals? And so apologies to all of the mud water drinkers out there. I might have a different idea for you if that's on your plate in the morning. So let me show you kind of this list that I go through, and I'll explain what all these things mean. Not all mushrooms are equal. The first thing is we want our mushrooms to be grown in their natural environment. So wild cultivated, or wild foraged rather, and naturally cultivated, meaning if they are naturally growing in a shady forest on old growth wood, out in the sun, we want them to be grown not in a basement, in a soggy basement where they may grow mold and other bacteria having in there. The exposure to sunlight is so important with mushrooms. It's one of the ways that they synthesize high levels of vitamin D, which can be incredibly beneficial for our pets. And so we want it to mimic nature as much as possible, or harvest them from these places where we have really great clean soil, as I was talking about, and clean water, clean air, and all those native ways that they would grow naturally. That is where all these studied benefits come from. The next thing is that they are on their native substrate. There's a trend in the mushroom industry that people want to grow these things quick and cheap. And you can grow, for instance, chaga that one that I talked about that grows in the Northern Hemisphere on birch trees, you can grow that on oats, grain, sawdust, but there are certain compounds that are only found in birch trees. Bitulenic acid is this one molecule that's only found in birch trees, and it's one of the primary components that give chaga all of this power. So if you're growing it on oats, you're not going to be getting that really important part that is why we are revering chaga for all these reported benefits. So it's really important that we're growing it on what it's supposed to be growing on, and not something that's just going to produce faster and cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, much like we were talking about with proteins, when it's fed a different food,
right,
it becomes a totally different protein. Same
right.
thing. Yeah,
Yes.
very cool.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I'm not an expert in food or feeding, but you know, some of the veterinarians that I work with, when we talk about food energetics, you can have for instance, a pork product that if they're fed really a natural diet with whole foods, they can have a completely different energetic profile. You can go from a neutral to cooling protein to a warming protein based on what they're feeding. So it's the same thing as with our mushrooms. It really, you are what you eat.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I think you can speak to this. One of the commenters said, "How do you find out if the product you use is grown outside on a tree?" Well, that's where, you know, sourcing and testing and having a company that has a really clean label and has a very trustworthy process is very important.
Yeah, I think the way to know is to ask questions and to really find out who's behind the product and what their intention was. So our MycoDog was founded and formulated by an incredible educator and formulator in the pet space. Her name is Angela Ardolino. She's a good friend of mine and has been one of my mentors. And she is super diligent and stringent and just really has an eye for what makes something, you know, a really great sourced product. And so she has gone painstakingly through making sure that every detail along the way is held to the highest standards. And so, you know, I think a lot of companies assume that their audience is uneducated, and we take the opposite approach. We say, we know that you know your pets best, and we know that you want to find the best products for them. So we are going to give you the tools that you need to make an educated decision about their health. Because it is so important that we empower our pet parents to be able to make informed decisions. So ask. And if they can't answer, you know, what was this grown on, then they probably don't know, and they haven't gone through the effort to ensure that it's done right.
Very cool.
Yeah. So the next one that I have here is it should be extracted from the fruiting body. So this is kind of a two-parter here. The fruiting body is the part of the mushroom that you see above ground. That's the cap and the stem and the gills underneath the cap. That's the part of the mushroom with the highest density of all of those bioactive molecules. There's another part that grows kind of underneath the mushroom that's called the mycelium. Think of this like the roots of the mushroom. And there you'll find a lot of products that are mostly mycelium based, or there'll be a combination of fruiting body and mycelium. And the way that you get a product like that is usually they're grown on just a brick of oats or some sort of cheaper substrate in a plastic bag. And then when they go to process it, they just take that whole thing and they throw it in a grinder. So you get all the different fermented oats and mycelium, and then some of the fruiting body as well. And they throw that all in there, and they suddenly have way more volume that they can produce and put out there. It allows them to just pack it with basically, it's kind of like filler, but we can also have mold and things growing in that substrate that you don't want in there. And if you look at the traditional ways of producing these mushrooms, for instance, reishi, which would grow on hardwood, these foragers and practitioners 1,000 years ago were not going to a log and throwing it in a wood chipper in order to get the mycelium out. They're harvesting the fruiting body, this part of the mushroom that is found above ground, where all those medicinal benefits are. And so we're following traditional use, but also what our science, current science shows that's where really all the good stuff is found. Not to say that there are not medicinal benefits to what is found in the mycelium. There are, but we want to focus our efforts on where we're going to get the best returns. And that's with the fruiting body. And the other part of that, extraction, is so important. You'll find a lot of companies that, again, will just grind up the mushroom and put it in a product, but our bodies can't digest that. Our dogs' bodies lack the enzymes to break down the cell wall in order to release all of the components like beta glucans and triterpenes that affect the body. So you could be taking this every day, and if that product didn't go through an extraction process, meaning they boil it in hot water or use alcohol to extract further components, those are just going to get excreted. You're not going to get them. So they have to be extracted. That's another thing that you can look for on the label, and also ask a different mushroom company whether they're doing that or not. It's very important. The next thing, I kind of touched on this earlier, but the benefit of using not just one mushroom. We can think of, for instance, when we were talking about lion's mane, say you've got an old dog and you think, well, I really want to help it with its brain health. I'll just give lion's mane. But what we're finding through the research is that when you put these mushrooms together, they really boost each other's effects. There's one study that was done a few years ago where they measured TNF, which is tumor necrotic factor. And they found that for individual effects of 3 different mushrooms, they had certain levels. And then when they combined the 3 of them, it was greater than the sum of the 3 parts. So you not only get the benefits of those 3 together, there is an added synergy on top of them all working together.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's why we really recommend using a combined blend. And then finally, we want to make sure that it's easy to administer, that it is highly potent. You can find a cheap product that may just not have very much mushrooms in it. And also, you may need to use a ton of it in order for you to get an amount that's actually going to work in their body. So you want something that's got a ton of mushrooms in it, and it's something that your dogs and cats are going to want to take. And so that's why we produce our mushrooms in tincture form, where it's liquid, it's really easy to administer. You can put it right in their food. It has very little taste. If anything, it's just a little bit sweet. So it has no negative effects in the way that they're going to take it. And when we're talking about animals that, may be suffering from different health challenges that reduce their appetite, that make them lethargic, that may have dysregulation in other ways and a loss of vitality, we need them to be eating. We need them to be nourished. And so we don't want to be giving anything that's going to shy them away from their food.
When you're talking about a tincture, and I should have brought some of the bottles over here, but when you're talking about a typical one of your bottles, if I were to say, like, my largest dog is 15 pounds, how much would he potentially get a day of one of your blends?
So depending on their weight range, and also sort of the stage that they're in with whatever challenges you're working on with them, you'll be giving them between 1 to 2 on the lower end to up to around 4 milliliters a day if you've got a big dog with an advanced condition. And that we kind of break that into 2 different weight categories. and then look at our animals as individuals. A pet that we're just working with, trying to balance them over time. They're a younger dog. We just want to give them some support with inflammation, with any kind of joint pain, calming effects. You're probably going to dose them or give them a serving that is a little lower than say an animal that is older at an advanced disease stage that will probably want a higher amount to give them. So our recommendations for serving size are written on the bottle there. But what's really great about mushrooms is they're extremely safe at even high levels. So you can't give too much where it's going to be harmful to them. And also the dosing ranges are quite forgiving. So you don't have to land right on one spot and stick the landing and not move. They are what are called adaptogens. It's a class of natural components that work with the body that they work with the immune system, and they just encourage the body's natural functions to work in a more balanced and optimal way that they would naturally if they were at homeostasis, if everything was firing in the proper way. So it can have really gentle and stimulating balancing effects.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's my list. This is my list. I think if I were to add anything else to this list, it really would just be about checking the ingredients of what you're working with and making sure that there's no additional ingredients in there that are inactive, that are not actually helping, that are more for just to make sure that it is more shelf stable, that it is they're fillers basically. You can find things like sawdust and different stabilizers, anti-clumping agents and powders that we really don't need in there if we have a high quality product such as this that is naturally preserved in vegetable glycerin. We really just want all the ingredients in there to have functional value and not just be there to preserve and anti-clump and do all these things, because they're not necessary if you produce it right.
So a couple of questions. Once a bottle is opened, so someone were to purchase a bottle from us and open it and start using it, is there any kind of need to use by day, that kind of thing? Does it start to lose any of its potency once it's opened?
So the vegetable glycerin that we use is an incredible preservative. It keeps it really stable. We set a best before date of 18 months after manufacturing. Once you open it, really that doesn't change. As long as you keep it in a cool, dry place, you don't have to refrigerate it. You can keep it on your shelf in a cupboard with your other products, and don't really need to worry about that. And we find, honestly, people are using it before the 18-month mark anyway. So yeah, it's quite shelf stable. I mean, we talked about the antibacterial and antiviral effects of some of these mushrooms. A lot of these mushrooms have those effects, so they naturally suppress the growth of other bacteria and sort of even preserve themselves to a certain degree. Of course, you don't want to be getting a whole bunch of different chunks of food and stuff in the bottle and create a breeding
everything else. Yeah.
As much as you can, if you got a dog with a sloppy mouth and you're putting the tincture right in their mouth, maybe give it a little wipe before you put it back in the bottle so you don't create an incubator. But generally they're quite stable.
Very cool. I mean, it is just so captivating to me. So many benefits. And I think when you and I talked a week or two ago, I was mentioning I have a dog that she's probably 15 or 16, but I've just noticed a lump underneath her front arm. And we had her on antibiotics for 2 weeks, and I haven't really done anything. We did, take some fluid from it to see if we could identify. We know it's not lymphoma, but we don't really know what it is. And so I'm definitely going, oh, thank you. She's bringing Look at you. You heard me in the back office. You just brought me all the bottles over here.
Nice.
Um,
Here, I'll
but
pull them up too.
yeah. So in that regard, so she has a lump. We know it's not lymphoma. We do know that. But otherwise we just don't really know what it is. And so in a case like that, what would be kind of your recommendation?
So we
Just
have
to
a
best support
specific
her.
formulation that Angela, our founder, who I mentioned, she developed for her own dog named Nina, and Nina was suffering from a number of different health challenges, and this formulation is really beneficial for encouraging the body's immune system to create greater cellular health. So when we have different conditions where cells are rapidly multiplying, that they are out of whack in their natural cycles of life and death, that these mushrooms encourage greater regulation among the cells. So there are a number of ways that it does this. There's this process called apoptosis, which is the natural life cycle of a cell. When a cell is sort of coming to its end, it will kind of say, okay, I'm done, and it will stop reproducing, and it will eventually die. There are other processes in the body where different B cells, T cells, immune cells in the body, their job is to find cells that are dysregulated and starting to mutate and take them out. Think of these as like the police force of the body, where they're picking out the bad actors and recycling them. There are different effects, such as, when a tumor is growing, it will put out a blood vessel in order to get more resources. And we can see that these different mushrooms have been studied and reported by veterinarians and scientists to stop that formation of a blood vessel to get more resources. So what's really cool is they may have the effects to cause all these different activities in the body that can contribute to greater wellness in animals that are suffering from this kind of dysregulation of cellular health.
And we've talked a lot about dogs, and it is called MycoDog, but for the cat lovers out there, you do have tinctures for cats as well.
Yeah, we got MycoCat as well. So
yes, so I don't want any kitty cat owner out there to think the kitty cats are left out of this conversation.
Absolutely not. And all the more reason to come back to our animals who won't take something that they don't like. We have such great reports from our cat parents where they can put it right in the food for their cats, and they put up no complaint, they don't protest, and they'll still eat their food. Because with dogs, generally you can get them to eat what they're having. With our cats, they will starve themselves if they don't like what you're putting in the bowl. So
that's very true.
Yeah. So, these mushrooms are totally safe and have a lot of the same reported effects as for dogs.
Well, Kelly even mentioned she's been putting some of the MycoDog tinctures in her coffee to get some benefits for herself. So yep. Maybe even beyond use, between maybe those of us who are just furry friend lovers can get some benefits from them too. Yeah. Well, I am just captivated by all the many uses. And now that my girl is done with her antibiotics and we see it really didn't make a difference, I am definitely taking home a bottle today to get her started on and see if we can't make some progress. Mm-hmm. Christy's saying I used MycoCat Breathe right in her food when she had a bit of a cold, and it cleared right up really quickly. So that's always a lovely thing. Simone has said that to you.
Yeah, you'll notice in the way that our different tinctures are formulated that we want to make it really easy for people to be able to look on the shelf and know, based on the profile of what their dog or cat is struggling with, which blend of mushrooms is going to be right for them. So as I talked about, different mushrooms have different studied benefits. And so grouping them together to target the different things that our pets are going through allows us to kind of get more specific about what we want to see in the end.
Yeah. Well, it is absolutely captivating to me to listen to you and to listen to all the knowledge about mushrooms. I am sure our customer base is going to feel the same way. I'm so thankful you were able to come on here with us today and give everybody more of an understanding of the way that this can help support their pets. And I will definitely get you some sizing of our friends who responded. And certainly, if you have questions, as with all of these Facebook Lives, if you have questions, you can continue to post comments. And we will get any of your questions to Carter and get you answers if we don't have the answer for you. But of course, these products are available at both of our store locations. And we do have both the individual mushrooms as well as the blends available. And if for some reason after this, if we happen to be out of something, we can easily get it in and do some additional orders for everyone. But anything else you want to offer out there?
One more thing that I would love to tell people about before we go that I'm so excited about. We are currently about to, we're in the end phases of our first clinical study that we are working on with VHRC, the Veterinary Health Research Center, on looking at canine cognitive decline. So basically doggy dementia, and using our blend of mushrooms to see how we can create greater wellness and give our pet parents more quality time with their animals. And I have seen some of our early results. I'm working closely with our veterinary team, and it's been really amazing. Our pet parents are reporting greater sleep through the night, more active during the day, less confusion, more eye contact.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we are still enrolling folks in this. If you have a dog that's 8 years or older, that you're seeing just greater confusion, more wandering, restless through the night, we would love to talk to you and learn more about what's going on and see if potentially we can help. But this is something that is so important to us and that we've been wanting to do for a long time, because it just allows us to validate and give greater scope to what we already know about these mushrooms, so that when veterinarians and health practitioners are working with their clients and they come to ask, is there anything that I can do for this condition, that the conversation doesn't stop there, that the veterinarian doesn't say, nope, that's it. And so maybe if some pet parents see this study and see these effects where these dogs are feeling better, or a veterinarian has read this study, then they think of this and they go, wait, I have heard of something that could be beneficial, that is all natural, that has virtually no side effects, that really may be able to make a difference in my pet's life.
Yeah, we do have customers who come in with pets who are struggling with that. So it's definitely something I'll keep in mind, and we can certainly refer them your way. Because of course, the more studies you have, and you can know all day long the power of it and know that it does work. But when you have it down on paper in a study, it lends itself so much more credence and so much more notoriety. And definitely, we're all about trying to find the natural way to do things here, and not having to rely on Western medicine nearly as much. Certainly has its place and its purpose, but it's so wonderful when we can do things with what nature provides us.
Absolutely.
So, well, we really appreciate that. That is so cool. I have a 98-year-old grandmother, and I'm tempted to take a bottle home and start putting it in her tea in the morning.
Listen, my dad is 76, and you better believe he's on his mushrooms.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, for everybody out there, I think we covered everything. There was a comment up here saying we need to find a way to put mushrooms in our ocean to clean our oceans. And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
Kelly was wanting you to explain about xylitol.
Oh, yes. Okay. So for anybody out there who knows about xylitol, this is an artificial sweetener that is kind of everywhere. It is used all the time, and it's really great. It's a good alternative to like aspartame and these other things that are commonly used. For humans, humans have no issues taking xylitol. Our pets really can suffer if they get a hold of anything with xylitol in it. It can cause liver failure. It's terrible for the kidneys. It can really mess them up. And xylitol is made from the sugars in a birch tree. There's a compound called xylose in birch trees, which is a precursor to xylitol. So there has been a lot of fear with folks who are using chaga, because they insinuate that because birch trees have xylose, that the chaga which grows on them will contain xylitol. But the issue here and the misnomer is that there are a whole bunch of steps of chemical refinement in order to create that super concentrated natural sweetener or synthetic sweetener, xylitol, from the birch xylose. So it goes through around 7 different manufacturing and chemical processes to become xylitol from xylose. So not only are there very, very low levels of traceable xylose in any kind of chaga extract, it's just fundamentally a completely different compound from the xylitol that you would find in chewing gum or chocolates or anything.
And I think to some degree they're using xylitol, but also calling it birch sugar too.
Right. That's very confusing.
Yeah, definitely made it a little bit more confusing for individuals when they're looking for xylitol. If you see something called birch sugar, it's the same thing.
Yes, definitely keep it away from your pets.
Yeah.
But no fear about chaga.
Well, that is interesting. I've never heard that. So it's very interesting information. Always.
We could go all day, Allison.
I love it.
How much time you got?
Makes my brain explode, but I do love it. And I do love being able to bring this back for our customers, and love those kind of testimonials from our customers where, they tell us that it gave them years instead of days. And I think that's just so impactful. And I've had many customers say that. And, personally, I had a rescue that I took in a few years ago. Her name is Cora, and she had a tumor. She's about maybe 18 to 20 pounds. And she had a tumor the size of a coconut, a mammary tumor. And it was cancer. And we immediately put her on mushrooms. And the vet at the time told me, I'm dealing with some other ones like this, and it's not great. I'm thinking you have anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months. You're just not looking at a long time, because she had a massive tumor. And I'm here to say 3 years later, Cora is alive and well. And we've only had one other recurrence, and we immediately had it removed, but she has been on mushrooms.
Wow.
And so
very cool.
She's definitely defying the odds.
Yeah.
And I think our putting her on mushrooms right away and doing some other things with her diet has made a big difference.
I have a case that is really present in my mind, because I just spoke to this guy yesterday. He's in Jacksonville, Florida, and he signed up to be part of our Clarity study. And he has an old golden retriever that just was doing really rough. And for the last 2 weeks, wasn't getting up, wasn't moving around, was just low energy. And we just had to get him the product as soon as we could to see if we could help. He had his euthanasia appointment scheduled for today.
Wow.
And he started Clarity on Tuesday of this week. And the next day, this dog was up and walking around for the first time in weeks. He was eating again. He was moving around. He was making eye contact. and they moved his euthanasia date. They postponed his euthanasia date because he's bounced back so fast. And so it's also, we hear a lot of these reports that it doesn't take forever. It can be really quick and give a lot of relief. So like I said, these kinds of stories just are so heartening and really inspire me to keep spreading this message and advocating for these powerful plants and fungi that can be so beneficial for us and our pets.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And sharing all of your wealth of knowledge with our customer base. I know that this is going to continue to get watched on later today and this evening and everything. And so I know it's going to be such a powerful message for everybody who listens to it. And we appreciate you being here, and we love these products. We're excited to carry them and have them on our shelves ready for our customers so that they can make those kind of differences in the lives of their pets. So yeah, well, everybody's saying thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Allison. It's been such a pleasure.
Well,
getting on and talking to other folks who are like-minded about this stuff. It's a really exciting time to be working in the pet industry when we've got so much at our fingertips.
Agreed. Well, thank you, Carter, and we'll hope to talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.